Hi, I'm Brandon Demore, host of the This Ain't Luck podcast. And in our very first episode, we've got a super special guest. Her name is Lindsay Wolfington. Now, Lindsay Wolfington's list of credits it's mind-blowing. Virgin River, One Tree Hill, Sullivan's Crossing, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, just to mention a few. And with all that, she's the president of the Guild of Music Supervisors, which is another huge thing. And I don't know if any of you guys know what that is, but the Guild of Music Supervisors is where all the top music supervisors are members. And they gather at a huge convention. Great show. Everyone's dressed up. It's a big deal. So Lindsay's in charge of that as well. And well, on top of that, let me just throw you a couple other things she's done. She's licensed Led Zeppelin and U2. That's like unbelievable to do. I mean, this is an incredible music business person to be able to do those things. So she had time to come and visit with us. I'm blown away. I couldn't believe she said yes. Evidently, we're okay. And we talked about music supervision. We talked about how she became a music supervisor. We talked about why she became a music supervisor. It was great to have Lindsay with us, and I really want to thank her a lot. We had a lot of fun talking to Lindsay, and we learned a lot about what's going on in her world, and I think you guys are going to do the same. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Thank you.
I was like a teen of the 90s, and soundtracks had a heyday, right? So I was very into soundtrack albums, both composed score soundtrack albums and compilation soundtrack albums, Reality Bites being kind of like my favorite inspirational soundtrack. So, and was also like the kid in college making the mixtape for all my friends every semester of like the sounds of the semester, right? So worked at the radio station as a DJ, and my senior year there was the radio station at Brown University that you could work at the time was WBRU FM, which was a commercial modern rock radio station where we played commercials. We had a sales staff, we had a professional programmer. You know, there was a playlist that we played. So while we got to opine on what songs we thought were good, we didn't actually choose our set when we came on, right? We were told what to play.
You operated in a corporate structure like the way a real radio station is, yeah.
Exactly. And the whole idea was it's an educational workshop. So, but my senior year, there was always an assistant position with the head programmer, creating the playlists and me doing label dinners and all that stuff. My senior year, there were 2 positions open. There were 3 of us who applied. Guess who didn't get it? And I do feel like that that kind of closed the door on radio because I knew I didn't want to be like a DJ forever. So but it made me think, okay, what else is there? And I was a huge fan of the TV show Felicity, which used a ton of music, some of it old, but most of it new and exciting. And they had the end montage with, Felicity walking in slow-mo across the streets of New York. And I was like, I want to do that. I bet that's a job.
Wow.
And yeah, and
it's
I think
cool
I went to the
that
movies.
You caught on to that that
right?
early. Yeah, I do. I think it's cool.
Yeah, because it wasn't really known about at the time.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of me just being like, somebody must be doing this. And then I went to the movies one day and stayed for the credits and saw the title Music Supervisor. And I do feel like I'm a little bit Nancy Drew. I was like, I bet that's what it's called.
Awesome.
And so I graduated in 2001 from college and knew that the music industry was basically New York or LA. And I know it's Nashville as well, but in my head, that's where I wanted to be. And, if you were in New York, you would hope to work at MTV. Like being a VJ would have been the coolest thing ever, right? But also that was everybody else's pipe dream. So I had a friend from high school who was like, I'm moving to LA. Do you want to move? And I was like, okay, yes. Like, let's go try it out there. And so sorry, I'm giving you the long version. Do
That's
you want the
okay.
long version?
This is I love it. I love it.
Okay,
This is
good.
what
You're along for the ride.
We're along for the ride.
So my first week in LA was September 11th, 2001. So,
boy.
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Big bummer. Yeah. So very crazy time. And professionally, nobody really wanted to talk to me until I moved to LA. So not a great time to be cold calling people.
Very somber time period. Just
super somber
was,
time.
Yeah.
You didn't know who knew somebody. My sister lived in New York. I had a ton of friends in New York. So was very affected by that. But ended up kind of like after like 3 weeks started trying to make connections. I called people from like my alumni from my college who might know anything about it. I actually met somebody who gave me Kevin Edelman's number, so I had like a short conversation with him. He wasn't hiring, but took the time to talk to me for 20 minutes, and then met with. I had done a cappella in college, and there was an alum of my a cappella group who I had coffee with, and he was a studio exec at Disney, overseeing the show Felicity, as well as Alias and all these like hit shows at the time.
Yeah,
and Jennifer Peiken and Madonna Wade Reed worked on both Felicity and Alias, and like had to send him budgets regularly. So he was like, I know the ladies who do it. Your best bet is to start as an unpaid intern, write me like a really great cover letter, and I'll fax your resume over. So these were the days. And they were like, yes, like we'll meet with her. And so I met both Jen and Madonna, and it was like right time, right place. They'd gone from having 2 TV shows the previous television season to having 4. And they had like a bunch of paperwork that they needed to like get through. So they were like, great, when can you start? And I came in and it wasn't like I worked Tuesday and Wednesday. I came in Monday through Friday and worked 9:30 to 6. And they were kind of like, we can tell you're really into this, and you can't work this much for free, so we can pay you. Please can you stick around? And I was like, yes, please.
And you were in heaven.
Yes.
Yeah.
And and I started doing paperwork, which I think is like a really good way to start. I was doing confirmation letters, so every time you need to use a song, you have to get permission to use it, which they had done that part of the work, and then I was just confirming the songs that had actually been used, confirming the fees that had been agreed upon. But I thought it was like the coolest thing. I'm like, I'm emailing Sarah McLachlan's publisher. Like,
yeah,
this is the
yeah.
coolest.
No, I've had similar experiences where like I'm getting coffee. Look how great I am.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. So, and then I ended up, long story short, I worked for them as a coordinator for 4 years. Started the first 2 seasons of One Tree Hill with them, and then they split up their partnership. And when they did that, I also went out on my own and was able to continue working on One Tree Hill. And that was 2005. So 20 years I've been on my own.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. I'd like to invite you to join us at artistportal.studio, where you'll get unlimited drive space for collaborations, free sync opportunities, shareable playlists, and you can meet and collaborate with artists around the world. That's at artistportal.studio. Join us. Now back to the podcast. Something I notice about looking at the shows that you work on is that it seems that they're very heavy with the music telling the story. A lot of that goes on. I watched maybe 10 episodes of One Tree Hill this weekend just so I was tuned up a little bit.
Wow. I'm impressed. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're not really the target audience.
No, I'm not. My girlfriend came in the room and she's like, what are you doing?
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? But it really, it's a neat how, I mean, I 5-7 songs in an episode that step in and start telling the story.
Were you watching season 1?
I was watching season 1.
Okay.
Season 1 starts out with the basketball team and
it changed a lot from like even in those first first 6 episodes, I remember like by episode 8, it started as like two brothers playing basketball, and then the WB was like, young girls are watching this show. Can we do a little less basketball and a little more like love triangles? Like Nathan and
Yeah.
Haley by episode 8, they were like, more of that.
Yeah, and there is a little bit for semi-grown ups, the parents in the car dealership and stuff like
Yep.
that. Um, but what I do notice is that the music is telling a lot of the story in those, and it seems, am I wrong? But is that like a theme in some, but not, no pun intended, but is that like a theme that goes in a lot of like? It seems like it's very important that you're finding songs that are helping the director tell the story.
Well, that's like the definition of music supervision
Right.
is to, collaborate and enhance, any piece of storytelling with music. Um, I do think teen properties, which I've done a lot of work on, um, use more music than most. That is like that teenagers listen to music all day long. So when you have a show about like, because I also worked with Jenna Madonna on Smallville, like the first couple
Mhm.
seasons, and um, it was the same thing. It's like when you're in the cafe, there's music. When you're in the Talon, there's music. And then the 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 like choice to do an end montage or tie scenes together with a song, that was definitely very One Tree Hill and our showrunners style. The executive producers on that show loved music and would say things like, music can tell the story better than I can as a writer.
Wow.
So they realize the power of music.
And you really get to exercise the talent when you've got that sort of path to go. It's
Yeah,
go crazy, tell the story.
and I loved that. But like you look at like then I worked on Ghost Whisperer as well, which was Jennifer Love Hewitt. It was on CBS.
Right.
For CBS, it was one of their younger shows, and actually when they brought me on, it was because they wanted to use more music. Um, but like more music was still like 4 to 5 songs an episode. I would say One Tree Hill averaged like 8 to 10 songs an
Yeah,
episode.
10. Like, yeah, I was
Yeah.
counting and I'm like, wow, a lot. And I did watch, not my demo, but my girlfriend loved Ghost Whisperer, and I've watched every episode of Ghost Whisperer, and it's not nearly as high as those others in the music telling
Oh,
the story.
yeah, but was it
Yeah.
but they used it differently. It was still effective, just in a different way, right? So you
Yeah.
are kind of catering one to the story and one to your audience. One thing, like on a show like Ghost Whisperer, every episode you're solving a mystery. So there's a lot of like detail that's being given along the way. And so a song can get really distracting very quickly, right?
Sure.
Whereas, on a teen drama, sometimes they're talking about their emotions, or they're talking about like going to a pep rally, right? Like it's not like you get the gist and you can listen to a song at the same time.
We have a joke around here that we get called for elevator music a lot in background in a bar. So that's just something that seems like the editor at the last minute is like, oh God, I need something for the background in this bar. And it seems that there's a lot of those.
To that, like there are bars and cafes all over the place. Jack's Bar on Virgin River
Mhm.
can
Yeah.
be 3 to
Okay.
4
So let's
songs an
talk about
episode.
that. So now
Yeah.
when you're setting this up with the director, probably usually our producers. Now, are you deciding on the sound of Jack's Bar? Is there a sound of the certain house that you go to? How does that work?
Yeah. So I've been on a couple of shows where there is more like the hardest sound to find is the bar.
Really?
Yeah, well, so Jack's Bar took a second to crack, and it wasn't hard to crack in that I think we knew we wanted it to have this how do I define it? Southern rock sound.
Mhm.
But then there was like, well, how much does it lean into Americana and how much does it lean into pop rock? And that first season, there were a couple times we leaned a little bit more indie rock or pop rock, and inherently, my showrunner would get to the stage and want to replace them. So, um,
Because it
I
wasn't country or Americana enough?
well, it was just like a fine it's interesting, right? Like, sometimes there's a vibe, and you just know when it's getting like, "Ooh, it went a little bit too far this way or a little bit too far this way." So, really, I would say, like, the core sound of Jack's Bar is, like, John Cougar Mellencamp, Bruce
Hmm.
Springsteen. Springsteen was, like, an early, um, you know, temp word that was thrown out, like, that was the style. There's not actually that much music that sounds like Bruce Springsteen. As,
Right.
that is
No,
affordable, right?
yeah.
Um, but then Tom Petty, I would say, like, so, anything that kind of had that, like, Tom Petty, John Cougar Mellencamp, Heartland rock, I think is really where we narrowed in, because
Right.
you, it can be a little bit country, but it can't be twangy, and it can be a little bit Americana, but it can't be too acoustic because it needs to carry in the background. Like, the interesting thing about music that plays in the background too is that it can't be too thin. I actually always think of kind of like the wave file, right? Like, it needs to kind of be like a
Hmm.
steady foundation of wave to be able for the mixer to turn it down enough, but still be present, like,
Present.
throughout the room,
Without
right?
distracting from dialogue and holding it together, yeah.
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 So I don't know if that's, like,
N
interesting to the audio
no,
geeks out there, but
That's very
that's it. I
Well,
interesting.
think
that's
that's
highly
really I think
informative, I think.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
something about this business of about how specific this bar can be is
right.
important because and I'm just using this bar as a metaphor for places
Right.
because we have so many people. Now there's a lot of people that'll bring us music and they'll be like, "But God, mine was just right for that." And it's like,
Yeah.
just right is a little more just right than you might know because it's there's a very specific thing they're looking for. Now, I think we may have been in Jack's bar 4
We
Probably.
times.
have.
I
We've
think you
Yeah.
been in
have. Yeah.
we've been in Jack's bar a couple times. Um, and yeah, they fit exactly what you're talking about, the pieces that were used there. Um,
And, you know, Netflix even had us create a Jack's Bar playlist on Spotify. So,
Nice.
there is this sensibility of, like, maybe you'd want to have the Jack's Bar playlist playing in your living room.
well, we have an EP that we put up for the artists that have that on Spotify, and they are the songs from Virgin River, Jack's Bar. I
Awesome.
didn't know that that was Jack's Bar, to be honest with you, but they have that playlist has 4,000 listeners every month. I mean, how much do you get involved with an editor where they really want to cut the piece up to fit the scene? Has that happened much?
I feel like it happens less recently because I feel like if you had asked me this 8 years ago, I might have had a different answer. It's really project dependent. I feel like maybe the reason it's a little bit different is, like, Virgin River is on season 7,
Hmm.
so I don't need to talk to the music editor. Like, they know what they're doing.
Right. It's a
Um,
well-rehearsed ballet at this point. Yeah.
yes, exactly. And that is a show. I go to spotting sessions for all of my projects except Virgin River. They decide
Wow.
the songs pretty early on. I clear them, notify them if there are any issues, but the spotting session is for the composer and the music editor to work with, the showrunner and create new cues, right?
Right.
Um,
Hmm.
but the editor and the post-production team is so tight that, I work with picture editors all day long, right? Or like, they tell me when they need music and I send them music, and they have edited things to a pretty tight place and also have a really tight relationship with the music editor. So if they need a little help zhuzhing something,
Mhm.
he hops in. Um, and but so, like, Stephanie Gangle, so Mika Lieberman is the music editor on Virgin River, and Stephanie Gangle is our music editor on Exo Kitty. And yesterday, we had a spotting session, and there was a song where they kind of asked her to recut it with paying attention to make sure that the music edits were intentional, that maybe, like, some of the lyrics hit some spots nicely, or that, the ebb and flow worked well. And so she sent it to us to um, look at before she sent it to the showrunner, uh, and see if, like, to be like, do you think this addressed his notes? And I didn't really remember how it had played in the temp. I was like, this is working really well for me.
And
So,
did you they had all the parts, obviously, to be able to do that, right?
I mean, so
Or-
generally she's working with the full mix and an instrumental.
Okay.
We
Okay.
don't
Cutting in and out of the
generally you
vocal,
don't
getting
need
the
to get
vocal in
into
and out of the way.
stems.
Yeah.
But the composer, certainly she's working with the stems. And
Mhm.
there have been projects. I will say, gosh, I can't remember what it was, but sometimes you work on something really low budget and you're really dependent on library music or independent artists. And, especially if like you've done an overall deal with a library and you're using, you know, for free, you can use whatever's in that library. So using their stems can be super helpful. Oh, this is not exactly that scenario, but we had we are working on an episode where one of the characters creates a song, but it's just an instrumental track. So we found a library track, and in an earlier scene he's supposed to be like working on the track. So it was nice to have access to stems so that I could just be like, let's use this version, just has like the drums and the bass line. So that's like how you might start a song, right? So like we just use the drums and the bass line in that earlier scene. So stems can be really helpful for things like that.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. I'd like to invite you to join us at artistportal.studio, where you'll get unlimited drive space for collaborations, free sync opportunities, shareable playlists, and you can meet and collaborate with artists around the world. That's at artistportal.studio. Join us. Now back to the podcast.
I'm just thinking about like sort of in your mind, how you organize or how you'd like to receive playlists. And is it something where they go into particular buckets? Like this has to be by genre or mood or message. Is there a certain maximum of songs that you prefer to get and then also the delivery method of the music itself? How do you prefer to work with them? Loaded question. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. No, but like the question everybody asks, so it's all good. Okay, so for me, I'm not like when I ask for music, I will generally give buckets like emotional, sad, emotional, upbeat, fun, or warm morning songs. Um, so I guess I'll take it. So for being pitched, I like kind of like big general bucket titles like that, right? It does
Mhm.
help me distinguish because I will maybe download if someone has sent me a folder that includes 3 different styles, right? I will download that, but in the moment, I may only need the emotional sad song. So having it grouped in the emotional sad folder means, oh, I'm going to listen to that one now, and I can come back and listen to the fun upbeat ones later. Um, what happens when I listen is I work in a program called Swinsian, which is basically just like an independent person basically tried to recreate the model of iTunes where it's all folders and playlists, which I literally still have playlists from season 3 of One Tree Hill in there.
Wow.
So I was able to like move my iTunes into this format. And then I have a folder for every show, and I make folders like emotional, upbeat. I usually have dark when something dark or ominous is happening. When I worked on the Royals, I called it suspenseful because someone was always up to something on that show. Warm, which to me, a warm song is usually like lighter and might play, sometimes it's a romantic moment, but sometimes it's just like 2 people sitting on the porch having coffee or
Mm-hmm.
the sun rising.
Cool.
And then I also have, depending on the show, like playful, like Exo Kitty is a show where mischief is happening, every 3 episodes. So, and playful is also like a good one to have for when like hijinks ensue anytime on any show. So that's what's happening after I receive the music. The other part about delivering me music that I do like to know is a budget range. I The worst thing for a music supervisor is to pitch an expensive song where you
Mm-hmm.
don't have money for an expensive song. And sometimes an independent artist who isn't, who I don't recognize may have written with a huge songwriter or something. So it's important that I just know where the bodies are buried up
Yeah.
front. Um, in terms of delivering the music to me, as long as for me, my protocol is I want to be able to stream it and download it. Obviously, download is the most important, but especially if I'm unfamiliar with you or your music, it's helpful for me to be able to like audition it and make sure it works for me before I download, you know, 10 audio files. Steve, in terms of like how many songs in each playlist, I feel like 5 to 10 is pretty normal. I definitely can get overwhelmed if it's more than that.
Yeah,
You know,
that's important.
you,
We
you,
run
you,
into that
you,
situation.
you touched on something that made me think about, okay, if we have a show that's a really long legacy, you've got like Virgin River, it goes forever, and the thing sort of gets on autopilot. When a show first starts, I mean, like, and I've worked on a couple of things when they first start. The things that would take me, 2 hours could take me 25 hours. That's something that's in the beginning. Um, what's the process when you get together with the director and trying to feel everybody out and figure out what the direction's going to be? And, how does that work? How do you,
Yeah.
how do you navigate that? Because I always get nervous when I have to do that. Like,
Right. And some
yeah,
are easier than others. Like sometimes you just get it, and that's like blessings,
right.
right?
Hmm.
Like Laura and I got hired on a rom-com last fall called Worth the Wait. It came out in May on Tubi.
Hmm.
And we got called because we had done the producer's favorite rom-coms like To All the Boys and Love in Taipei and Love at First Sight. Um, and they wanted to do more with music and make the moments a little bit deeper even. Um, and so that was like we were like, great, we know how to do this, right? And then there are other projects where it does just like take a minute. Anytime a first season show, right? Sometimes it's a movie, but sometimes it's a first season show. It's a little bit. We'll make folders, or I'll make folders, depending on whether I'm doing the project by myself or with Laura, with what we think are, what is the sound of the show, and sometimes that is still grouped as upbeat, emotional drama. We're working on a reality show right now, and trying to define that sound a little bit. And the show is filmed in Malta, so in the Mediterranean. So it's like, but it's very contemporary, and it's like, a modern day dating reality show.
Right. So we
eh,
have love, breakups, the tropics,
yes, and
nice
like
things.
beautiful people
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
bikinis, and
Right.
like,
Yeah.
you're on a yacht. So like,
Mm,
so you have this like young contemporary, pop sound, but you also, what can we do to make it distinct? So we're still kind of figuring that out. And yeah, so sometimes it's just it's like making a folder and going one direction and then deciding, did that work? And then going another direction. Actually, on this, so the show is called Love Overboard. It's like Love Island meets Below Deck.
right.
Um,
I like it.
yeah.
It's neat.
That's a
Oh yeah,
it's a
y'all.
crossover event.
But so, and then the one thing that happens at the end is that someone walks the plank. Actually, two people walk the plank.
When you said
Wow.
overboard, I thought,
They
is someone going to
literally
get thrown off the boat?
Yeah.
Yeah. So two people walk the plank, and then one other person decides
Who?
which one of them is going to drop.
The
so
loser.
two people stand out there, and then one
Hopefully,
gets
they
dropped
do that
into
near the shore.
Yeah. Hopefully not too many sharks.
Yeah, right. They definitely have like this lifeboat nearby.
Yeah.
But they were like, can we do something? They're trying to make it pop with songs, which is where like Laura and I come in, right? So can we use a song every time we do a plank? And so we tried it, and it's working. So now we keep sending like plank folder songs, and And at first it was like, well, what is the Plank song? But it does seem to be this kind of like
What is the
songs.
Yeah, what is it?
Well, so the temp idea was NSYNC Bye Bye Bye. If you listen to the beginning of that, I know, right? Exactly. That's the reaction we want. It's both suspenseful and fun and
Yeah.
playful, right? Like
Yeah.
nobody's really dying
Yeah.
here, right?
Right.
It's a dating show. But
The songs are not about drowning, so
the very beginning intro part of Bye 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 is this like stringed part that's like and then it goes bye, right? It drops
baby,
and then
bye,
it goes
bye,
bye
bye.
right? So that worked, and then we've had others that have a little bit of like drama, some that are a little bit more playful with strut. So it's definitely this blend of like dramatic versus playfulness, and probably depending on how the couples are doing every week, it'll be a little bit different. But definitely when they drop, it's a surprise and it's crazy, right? So
I have a specific question, Lindsay, about this whole thing, but it's kind of a macroscopic. It's like, I know when you're listening to, like in sync, you get what you get. It's going to be well produced. It's going to be a well-known song, but
Yes.
let's talk about indie catalog that,
yeah.
like somebody like us, we would submit some music to you that nobody's really heard of yet.
Mhm.
And what really hits you first when you're sitting down, you click play on a song? What comes to mind first? What are you looking for? Is there some sort of a general protocol in your mind? What you're looking, is it the message? Is it the lyrics? Is it the production quality? Is it the melody, top line, that kind of stuff? What do you?
Well, I feel like it's a little bit different every time.
Mhm.
I think it's always vibe, but I will just say first listen. So this probably isn't an issue for anything you guys send me, but like production quality does matter, right? Like when I, sometimes listen to indie artists who are starting out, and sometimes the production quality is not there yet. Or if they haven't, maybe they're a great songwriter, but they're not working with a
Mhm.
producer who knows what they're doing yet. So I do think, there's a certain level of production quality that needs to be there.
Okay.
So that's
Right.
sort of gate one. If it doesn't sound right, doesn't
It
matter.
could be
what
a
the
great
con-
song, right? It could be a really
Right.
good song, but it's just, let's say the singer's off on it, or just the production quality is not where it's just a non-starter for you. It sounds like, but
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
if you think about like when you watch shows, everything sounds nice, doesn't it?
Yes.
So,
yes.
and if the score you're using is high quality, or even if like your score is, a library, it's it's high quality. It's interesting. On Felicity, we used to be able to get away with, not like get away with, but actually like acoustic singer-songwriter that wasn't produced at all worked really well for that
This
show.
is one of the reasons why he asked the question, because we have this category that we call indie unique. And there's some of them, and we do that because they're on the edge, but there's something about them. And I know that's why he's asking the question, because they're like, damn, this song doesn't sound very good, but there's just something about the way this person's singing the song that really sounds true.
I do feel like singer-songwriter is the genre that can get away with that, because singer-songwriter is like about raw emotionality. But when you're dealing with pop music,
No.
like
No, it's
you
all
gotta have
polished.
pop
You gotta
I hear
production,
you.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing the first thing, Steve, is like, well, what do you need, right? What does the scene need? And if you need raw emotionality, then maybe the production doesn't matter as much.
So your filter might change based upon the needs of the scene or the show or whatever. It just might go,
Absolutely.
okay, I'm just looking for the message now. Production quality and songwriter, like you mentioned, maybe we could just let a little bit of that slide.
Totally. Well, and also if you think about like singer-songwriter, like often it's more sparse anyway. It's, a guitar and vocal or piano and vocal. So there's not as much to mix anyway. When you're dealing with like pop tracks, you're dealing with a lot of not natural instruments most of the time, right? So they better be
Right.
pretty high quality samples.
Synced up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot, what was the second part of your question? I had another thing to say.
I'm thinking about
Oh,
that
what else
too
am
as
I
well.
thinking about when I'm listening?
Yeah, quality, lyrics. That's where he was going.
Well,
with it.
then vibe is like the first thing. Like, you'll know, like, is this song sad? Is it happy? Is it warm? Right? What folder is it going into? And
Right.
not only what folder is it going into, but what am I trying? What do I need for this scene? What am I trying to get across in this scene? And then lyrics are important because they like, you know, they can't be too specific sometimes. I remember there was like a really cool band in the early 2000s, but all the lyrics were like, I went to swim in the ocean with my girlfriend and it was cold and the water was salty. And I was like, there's just like too many details
Just
in
too
here.
many.
Like,
Yeah.
great
Right.
song for listening, but like, would
Broader
have to
subject
literally
matter.
be, I'm swimming in the ocean with my girlfriend and the water is cold and salty in the scene, right? And there's only like so many scenes where you need exactly that. And then when you have that scene, you probably have a director or showrunner who doesn't want to be that on the nose. Um, so that so lyrics sometimes can really drive it. Like, okay, so like this plank scenario, I'm looking for songs with lyrics about bye 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 or moment of truth or what's gonna happen.
But those are still pretty general. That's a general category. That's not in the salt with my girlfriend under the water
Exactly.
with her thing.
Kind of goes together, though.
Right? But
Yeah.
then other times what you're listening for is really, I need a song that's quiet, 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 and then takes off in the chorus, right? Like they're having a quiet conversation and then they're going to kiss and we want that big romantic swell. So sometimes it's about the dynamics. I think
Nice.
dynamics in song are super important.
And the
And they
dynamic
help.
is because of the edit when you're talking about. You might be editing to cutting to something.
But like if you've got nothing to cut to,
Yeah.
right? Like even if you have a music editor, if that song never gets big enough,
Yeah.
Some
It's
kind
not
of
gonna
arc,
work.
I think. You're looking for an arc if you're
right?
to pay
And
off something.
And other times you don't need a swell and you're like, no, 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 just stay down here, just stay down here.
Why did you get so big all of a sudden?
I have something else real quick, if you don't mind. It's kind of the second part of that, or a third part of that, if you will. Sometimes we get briefs, maybe a few times a week, where they're looking for a music supervisor's looking for a particular a song from a particular period. Let's say 1985. We need songs from 1985 to
Yep.
support, the spot there. How strict are you with the authenticity of that recording being from 1985, or can it be made to sound like 1985, or do you just draw the line saying it has to be only from 1985 recorded?
I think
Does that
it's,
come up?
again, I think it's a little project and scene dependent. Feel like that is coming up more and more these days.
Mm-hmm.
And the more authentic, the better. But I did work on an indie film last year, which was not a period piece, but we had like an old bar in Texas,
Okay.
excuse me, that needed this kind of like, if they could have afforded Willie Nelson, they would have had Willie Nelson in there or Johnny Cash. And so something that sounded of, 60s, 70s, rootsy country.
So if we had sort of a gristled veteran, artist, and he's giving a song that could pass for 1985, then you would consider it, unless the director says to you, "Hey, Lindsay, I want 1985," and I'm talking about covers or not.
Yeah.
This
Because
comes up.
sometimes, I think sometimes it's like if it's background enough that no one's going to be digging to figure it out, then that's where it works. But I also think those tracks can be worthwhile because even if you're not working on a period piece, sometimes certain locations just scream older, right? So,
Right.
then you're just looking for a sound, not a time period. I do think, authentic vintage stuff is becoming really valuable because
It's hard to get.
there are directors who want to
Yeah.
be really accurate, or
Right.
you need something indie, but you're gonna hear it, like
Like a car stereo, and you're turning it on, you're driving, and it's front and center. And
yeah, or like I'm working on a movie right now where like they're in a restaurant but the first 10 seconds, they want the lyric to say something about the scene, but they also need it to be from 2002 or before.
Mm-hmm.
So,
As that was your, so this kind of comes to mind, like, is your first reaction, hey, let's go to the top hits or the just a body of work from 2002 and try to clear songs
well, not in this
from,
case because this is a spot I need to save money on.
that's
But
what I mean. So
yeah,
that's
But I
where
mean,
we
in this
come in.
spot,
Yeah.
we would be digging through our artists looking for someone that fits that mold.
Yeah.
So
It's just
you know,
always
Steve, you had
interesting.
some questions about covers too, that maybe you can.
That was my next thing is covers. How do covers fit in for you? The obvious thing is, okay, we could save a lot of money, and that's kind of, we get that. But just for just a general everyday artist that, like we have a lot of good covers, and we have a lot of artists that are interested in making covers. But from from your perspective, what are you looking for in a cover, and why are covers important for you, or
um,
are they?
covers are important because they can be both new and old at the same time, which people always love. I don't know exactly why, but a lot of the reason I use covers is because um, the style the new version is done in fits the project better. So Virgin River and Sullivan's Crossing would use covers occasionally. Actually, so season 1 of Virgin River, finally Mel and Jack are going to kiss. Big moment for, the 2 leads of the project, and the showrunner said, I want to use Jason Mraz's I Won't Give Up.
Okay.
This song is so perfect. And I was like, great. Jason Mraz's version is too big for our show, right? Like, he's got a beautiful but very prominent vocal performance,
Mm-hmm.
and reads a little bit pop, and I just feel that like everything about Virgin River is subtle. So we actually had 2 artists cover it and ultimately used Chance Pena. He recorded it. So the whole idea was to cover it in the style of Virgin River, which is acoustic guitar, maybe piano, um, a vocal that doesn't get too big. Because the other thing is there's dialogue happening in this scene, and then we do want the swell for the first kiss, but but Virgin River is this show that I feel like you can't always identify exactly what the vibe on a show is, but I feel like our roots are grounded in subtlety, so that like when a cue starts, you're not always sure whether it's score or a song.
Nice.
Our composed score is very grounded in like acoustic guitar as well. So, and I feel like that's what works about it is like, the characters in the story are paramount, and everything else is like this beautiful layer of support or shine on top, right? Um, Anyway,
Nice.
so that's actually, so like the second season began, they wanted to open with a cover of Elton John, Your Song. And when we went to request the publishing before going to do it, they were like, well, why do you want to cover? Like, what's wrong with the original? Nothing's wrong with the original, but the sound of the show is acoustic guitar, piano, and organic instrumentation. And they were like, okay. So again, Chance Pena covered Your Song for us for that opening moment.
Nice.
Yeah, right. And you can't
Okay.
the original is just very different, and that's okay. That's beautiful.
The
Everybody loves
original
Elton
wouldn't
John.
have fit in that show at all. It
Exactly.
wouldn't have
Right.
fit there at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're not using covers for a karaoke sense, that you're just dropping in to save money with a re-record. You're actually, like you said, stylizing it for
Yes.
the show itself.
Yeah.
And just
I mean,
there's a
I
theme
use plenty of karaoke tracks for karaoke generally. And then the other, like, I'm working on a movie right now, and we had. I don't know what will ultimately get used, but it was originally scripted as like a popular 70s slow dance song for this moment. And then the director was interested in like a bossa nova sound. But the overall producer's note is let's try to use 80s music because we're trying to create a lot of nostalgia in this film. And I had pitched a bunch of ideas from the 80s and 70s, that were bigger. We're like, we can spend money on this spot. It's an important moment. Um, and then I remembered Nouvelle Vague has covered I Melt With You, like the modern English song.
Sure.
And so, because that came from the director's, it's basically a bossa nova version of an 80s song. So I was like, maybe I can marry what the producers want with what the director wants in this one song.
Did it work?
So,
Are
well,
they
I don't
happy?
know. They're filming
Oh.
today, actually.
Oh, okay.
Everybody loves that
Because
cover.
that's a hell of a thing to combine together and be like, okay, I've got this combination.
Well, and
You know?
interestingly, too, I was like, I'll also continue to look for other bossa nova covers, but some of them were just kind of like super low energy. And that we need a little bit of fun here. But anyway, so hopefully, like, they were like, this is genius. This is like, oh, Wolfington, you've done it again. But like, we'll see if it actually stays in there.
You're waiting for that.
Yeah.
And what other projects are you working on since you let the cat out of the bag a little bit? Do you have anything that's upcoming that we
Yeah,
can
when
look
is this
forward to?
airing?
Probably next week.
Oh,
Okay. Okay. I mean, we're finishing up season 7 of Virgin River. We're basically done. We're working on season 3 of Exo Kitty. Love Overboard, Laura and I are working on together. And then this movie is called The Best Is Yet to Come. And
wow.
it stars Matthew Broderick and Alan Ruck. So,
Wow, that's cool.
but they're literally filming, so it'll be a little bit. But obviously, they were the duo in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So there's
Oh, nice.
right.
Yeah,
We want to
sure.
like lean into that, right? Because that's pretty awesome.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. I'd like to invite you to join us at artistportal.studio, where you'll get unlimited drive space for collaborations, free sync opportunities, shareable playlists, and you can meet and collaborate with artists around the world. That's at artistportal.studio. Join us. Now back to the podcast. We're talking about the film composer, and this is just sort of an aside question that Steve and I came up with before. How often are you involved with finding the composer for the film? Does that happen much?
Yeah. So like Laura Webb and I, most of the movies we do are for this production company, Ace Entertainment, and they did the To All the Boys movies. They've done Love at First Sight, Time Cut, all these films we've done with them. Upcoming film Jingle Bell Heist, which is going to be on Netflix this Christmas. So they often ask us for our opinion, but sometimes the director comes to the table with a sound or someone in mind. So when the director has someone in mind, like as long as they're within the budget, like great. Otherwise, sometimes we'll be given maybe a temp sound or like, a pipe dream of an idea, and we'll suggest, people within their budget to meet with. Sometimes on theater camp, they had hired a songwriter who was also going to be their composer. But then when they got in the edit, they wanted this percussive score. So then they were like, we need like a percussion composer. And so I called like, a manager and an agent I knew and was like, who do you have like this? And so they sent over ideas, and we ended up hiring James McAllister, who did like the drums on the theme song for Only Murders in the Building. And it was actually his first film that he'd ever scored. So, but that's what the budget was. And they were also like first time directors who were really excited to get involved with the score and happy to work with somebody who just wanted to be creative and be in the mix. So that turned out really well. And then he also worked with Mark Sonnenblick, who was our songwriter and composer for all the other things. And Mark's like a piano player. He's literally the piano player in the movie.
A lot of synergy going on.
Yeah, totally. And then other times, sometimes they don't ask your opinion and you don't get involved. But, sometimes you get really involved, or get really involved helping the composer find their sound. Like that definitely happened on the beginning of the Royals, which was Sid Khosla was our composer, who's like, he's like Emmy nominated 5 times now for Only Murders in the Building and a bunch of other things. But it was only his second project. And I had worked with the showrunner on One Tree Hill and very much knew, you know, he likes everything to sound like a band. Like, here are the temp songs we've been working with. I would make a
So
lot
that's
of
how you kind of help guide him creatively. It's like, here's some of the songs this is the type of vibe we're going for, so he can sort of feel his way
yes.
to create score based on those examples and direction.
And even like send over a bin of instrumental versions of songs that we like, just to like, again, kind of throw spaghetti on the wall and be like, okay,
Yeah.
that worked. So then take that as inspiration and for a sound, or like, oh, that guitar, like we really like that guitar. Let's make that part of our score.
What's the most challenging thing for you, Lindsay, as a music supervisor? What do you think is the absolute most challenging part of doing your job? Is there one?
Right now I'm like, time.
Right.
I actually think sometimes I've never really had this scenario. I always have a budget, and I do think budgets help to an extent. They just give you parameters to play in. I think I talked to another supervisor who does like a lot of big films, and um, they were talking about clearing something, and I was like, whoa, like whatever. And he was like, bigger budget, bigger problems, just like I think sometimes when you have no budget, then like you have all the songs in the world to pick from, and that is bigger, right? That's a really big sandbox when you like have the whole universe to think of song-wise. Although, but the flip side of that, the challenge is always delivering the idea within said budget, because inherently somebody always wants buy in sync, and can they afford it? And if they can't, how many indie songs actually sound as good as buy and have that lyric or have that intro or whatever it is.
Speaking of these big songs, on One Tree Hill, it mentions here that you used U2 and Led Zeppelin. How did that go down?
So I will say One Tree Hill was in retrospect, was a very healthy budget, but because we used 10 songs an episode, the money went fast, and we were always negotiating down to like the $500 or
so the episode with Led Zeppelin had no other songs.
No. Well,
the whole season.
Oh my god. So yeah, right. Every music supervisor's worst nightmare is somebody tempts in Led Zeppelin, and you're like,
right.
It's called One Song Hill. Sorry.
Right, for real. And that was like 2004. They had not ever approved for network television. That was the first network television.
I know, that's yeah.
So it was the good news was we were prepared with the backup. But yes, we bet the whole music budget on it. And the studio was like, okay, and if it approves, you need to be prepared to pull out or replace everything else with like library music. I don't think in our wildest dreams we thought it would clear, so that when it did,
wow,
there was a mixed stage scramble to find money to pay for all the other songs, and I was on with the executive producer and the post producer, and we were looking in all the buckets to see what money hadn't been spent, and we found just enough to afford all the other songs in the episode.
So it was mainly money. Because there is the problem with, we've never done this stuff before too. This is not something we generally
so sorry,
do.
I didn't really give you the how did this happen. We wrote a letter, we sent the scene. That song, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, has 3 writers. So you needed to get all 3 of them to approve. I guess, sometimes one might and the other 2 might not, or whatever. And they said yes. I really think the song was in there. It's like 6 or 7 minutes long, front to back, no edits. Really scored the scene.
Jimmy Page
and then,
must have been in a good mood that day or something, right?
Well, but I don't know if this occurred to them, right? Like, I don't know why they said yes, but it was a new audience, right?
Yeah.
Like, here we have these, an audience of 12 to 20-year-olds, and if their parents don't like Led Zeppelin, maybe they're not very exposed to it, I actually hadn't I was not I was my parents didn't listen to Led Zeppelin, so I was not like, I knew them obviously because I'm a music person, but I didn't know Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. And I think if I had, I probably would have dug further into Led Zeppelin than just
It's a
knowing
good
like,
song. I played that at the Battle of the Bands in 7th grade.
oh my God, very
Yeah.
all 7 minutes of it.
Yeah, it went well. We won. We had a
Good.
fog machine and everything.
And then U2 was, the show is called One Tree Hill. So the funny thing about that, I guess, is, every season we were like on the bubble. So we didn't know we were coming back. So actually season 7, we thought might have been the series finale. So I requested it for the series finale of season 7. They didn't get back to me. Like, I think, that happens sometimes, right? Especially with big artists. And then the show came back. So that was okay. And then, but season 9, when they gave us, season 9 was only like, it was either 9, I think it was only 9 episodes. It was 9 or 13. It was kind of a half season order. And we were like, this will be the final season of One Tree Hill. So we were prepared for months. This is going to be the end. Let's send the request. Let's figure it out. And they approved. And, they have someone come to the mix stage and supervise
Really?
it, how you mix it in.
Really?
And also no edits. So
Wow. We were
Yeah.
reading that you, Lindsay, you had 1,700 songs placed on One Tree. Is that?
yeah, I mean,
Were we
when
reading that right?
we had 187 episodes and we used almost 10 episodes a song. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Nice.
sorry, 10
I-
songs
10
an
songs an
episode.
I mean, and then we were
Yeah, I
doing the
gotcha.
math. Could picture if they
Yeah.
had to think about 10 times that to pick that 10 songs. It's a couple 100,000 songs you guys had to think about to find those 10 songs for each episode. Just the amount of listening is just, and thinking about it is just off the charts.
Yeah. I will say I used to only send like 3 to 5 songs per spot for that show, but there's always the spot where you have to listen and listen and listen. And then there were definitely moments where we knew we wanted to use something in a particular place. But yeah, it was really fun though. And I was
That's
in my
awesome.
20s, so I had like all the time in the world to like
Right.
just listen to music and dig into these things. It was
So
really
listen,
fun.
we've kept you here for about an hour, which I think is a lot of your time to take. What I'd like to do, if we're going to wrap up, is let's talk about being the president of the Guild of Music Supervisors. How much work is that, and what does that entail? I mean, when people hear that from the outside, it's like talk about top of the hill. I mean, you're
Oh,
the top dog.
it sounds
So
fancy, doesn't it?
it does sound fancy, I got to admit. And maybe you could just tell everybody what goes on. I mean, I don't think people realize how big a deal it is. Like when we go to the show, it's turning into everyone's dressed up. It's a big deal now. It's a big deal and it's cool. So can you just tell us a little bit about that before we wrap up?
Yeah. Well, the Guild of Music Supervisors is an advocacy group, like kind of like the Recording Academy is an advocacy group for musicians. We advocate for the craft of music supervision. And, part of that is our big awards in February, honoring like the best work in music supervision across all medias. We also have a big education conference. We just had it on Saturday. Uh, so it was an all-day conference of panels. We had like panels featuring Emmy nominees. This year we had a theme of soundtracks. So we like had the music team behind Wicked, and we had like iconic music supervisors like Karen Rackman and Bonnie Greenberg and Maureen Crow talking to Anton Monstead. So like all these like amazing soundtrack creators from over the years. And Questlove was our speaker as well. So that's
Nice.
actually, a really great way for a one-day way someone can take a couple classes and learn more about music supervision or learn more about, that we had a panel on like sampling, and there's a whole live pitch session where people submit their music and get live feedback. So, that's a lot of the giving back that the Guild does. But overall, we're looking out for music supervisors and trying to make sure that, they're treated fairly on set, and that people know what we do and that what we actually do. I think like the hardest thing is people who are just like, oh, I'm a music supervisor. It's like, well, do you know how to clear a song? Do you know how to really make sure that song works for the scene? Do you know where to find, something that isn't on a major label if you can't afford it? Can you work with a composer and give them notes and talk knowledgeably about, how to make the best music moment in a project? I'm sure I'm missing all the on camera things, right? Like, whether it's writing original songs for your cast to sing or having original songs written for your cast to sing, or going to a pre-record, or going to set and making sure someone's lip sync fits in their mouth. When they're filming, they're all these like little details.
Sure.
It's not just making a cool playlist. It's about really digging.
One more thing. We got to get a little bit on this. How do you, where does AI fit? I mean, how do you guys feel about AI? I mean, we have a rule that I'm just like, get away from us with the AI. I mean, that's
Right.
basically how we are. And I don't know if we're right or not, but that's how I feel. What are you guys, what are you thinking? What are your comrades thinking? What's the conversation, you know?
Um, I feel like there was a lot of conversation and then it ebbed a little bit. I think generally people are nervous about AI, right? Especially, some of these search engines that maybe you just like put in your emotion and they can like output a song, in terms of like what a music supervisor does. Um, but anyone who's done it for long enough knows that it's actually really hard, to tell people what you need. A lot of times the notes we get are like, I want this scene to sound like purple. And you're like, well, I don't think AI can tell you what purple sounds like,
Yeah.
right?
I'll know it when I hear it.
Yes, exactly.
That's what we were going to ask
right?
too.
But there's a lot of psychology in the job. A lot of the times your job is translator. Sometimes it's being that translator between a director and a composer, or, like just having worked with somebody and known their taste long enough, right? And then on the, on the like creator side, I think like, music supervisors are generally advocates for songwriters and artists. So I don't think anyone would actively look to use, AI created music instead of a real musician. And when we're talking about those raw or emotional moments, um, can they really create that in a way that's honest to the human experience, which is what we're
Right.
looking to convey in most projects? The question one is who owns it, right? And then you can go ask the person who owns it, can I use it? So that is a huge consideration. And that's probably why most people also stay away from AI at the moment. I will tell you quickly, we had an original song written for a character to sing on a show. And then they decided that the best case scenario was not for the character to sing it. And they really liked the demo version. When we went back to the song producers, the song producer was a woman and she had sung it and then processed it through AI to make it sound like a man. So we couldn't use that vocal.
Yeah.
That was not approved by the studio. So then we had to bring in a real male vocalist and record it. So it was helpful for her to get the demo across the line because it was supposed to be recorded by a character. But then when things changed and it wasn't supposed to be recorded by the actor anymore, we had to pivot. So it's really, so I get how it can be a useful tool. Like that was useful for her and it was useful for us because we could be like, oh, this is what it would sound like when our male character sings it.
A sketch pad.
But yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And that's kind of the way that's the way we've been treating it,
But even AI vocals you don't like because there's a lot of
we really
composers-
liked the performance.
But
Yeah.
you couldn't
In this
clear
case.
it.
Yeah. It's
We
not a
couldn't
real
clear
person.
it, so we couldn't use
Right.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
I do want to go back for a second, guys, and about the Guild of Music Supervisors. One thing, and it's kind of a kudos to Lindsay and her team. I think it's right around the time that were at the helm that you were able to get the category of Outstanding Music Supervisor added to the Emmys. Is that correct, or is that close to?
I had nothing to. I was not even on the board at that time. I
Okay.
will,
But the Guild did it, though.
Yep. Thomas
Okay.
Golubic and Robin Kay were huge. They were president and VP when that happened. And yeah, that was, it's really interesting to see the progression. The first Guild Awards were held as a brunch the Grammy weekend. And that was to get the attention of the Grammys to recognize music supervisors for soundtrack albums. And we
Nice.
got that. And then, we're so fortunate to be members of the Television Academy and get to vote. It's actually Emmy voting time right now. And also have this category. And, the next step is the Oscars. And we
Right.
hold our awards, a week or two before the Oscars and hope to, be catching their eyes as well.
Is there anything upcoming for the Guild that we can look forward to? Some different experiences or events that are not the normal, on the calendar? Something.
I mean, we always have like panels and stuff coming up, and sync drinks. I know that we're working on one of the big studios has like an initiative where they work with composers of various backgrounds and kind of give them their first start. And we're going to have like a mixer with music supervisors, but it would be a pretty like member focused event. And then the awards we announced are going to be on February 28th. They're going to be on a Saturday night this year, which is super exciting. And we are already, thinking of
Because traditionally they haven't been. They've been on a weekday, haven't they?
They've been on a Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah.
The past few years.
Is it going to be having
Everybody
said that?
can get really
Lindsay-
drunk now.
Yeah, no. Is there a bigger
I don't think
venue?
it stopped people before.
I
but
think
yes.
you're right about that.
Is it a bigger venue? Since we're talking about it, is it going to be a bigger venue? It is so hard to talk in there in the Wiltern.
got
We're going to
so
be
crowded.
back at the Wiltern.
Oh boy.
We've looked at other places, and I know the lobby can be tough, but we really haven't had what's really key about the Wiltern is it's a proper stage with
Yeah.
proper green rooms for all the talent we have on our stage and big presenters we have come, because like that, every year we're kind of getting like bigger and more exciting people coming to present and perform, and then the capacity. And then the other thing is there are doors. We used to do it at the Ace Theater downtown and just had curtains to the bar, and you could hear everybody at the bar talking. So we've actually really tried to, and then we've closed the bar during the show the past 2 years to be like, this is a show, come for the show, and then
Right.
we'll have a whole thing afterwards. You can go out and talk to anybody and everybody. And we know socializing is such a huge part of it. Yeah, like 1,200 people come to it. So I know that lobby gets crowded. But
And everybody's yakking it up, and it's loud. It is a lot of fun.
Sure.
It's a lot of fun. I think that I want to thank you for coming and hanging out with us, Lindsay. It's really cool.
thanks for having me.